I am the Industry and Government Affairs Offshore Representative for IADC within our advocacy group, the bigger organization. And one of the ancillary responsibilities I have is to coordinate and liaison with the IADC's Cybersecurity Committee. So IADC is an organization that has been in existence since 1940. And originally starting out to represent the drilling contractor segment of the upstream industry. And it has really kind of mushroomed into something much larger over the years since then, taking on an international remit in the 1970s. And we basically represent onshore and offshore contractors, drilling contractors and service and supply contractors, basically the entirety of the supply chain, and in addition to several operators that we have as members. So 23 years in the Coast Guard as a maritime and offshore compliance officer. So a fair amount of time in regulatory, and then upon completing my Coast Guard career, came to work at IADC going on 9 years ago. Well, the cybersecurity risk is certainly growing every day, and I think that that awareness amongst not just this industry but all industries needs to continue to grow, and the need to appropriately mitigate that risk, as we saw with the midstream segment of the industry with the Colonial Pipeline issue. There are vulnerabilities. And I think it's beholden on all industries to know what their vulnerabilities in that regard are, so that they can appropriately address those. And that's what we're trying to do with our Cybersecurity Committee. We have a current cybersecurity guideline that we are revising. And so we're working on that revision, trying also to expand it at the same time. Right now, the title of that document is directed to drilling assets, and what we hope to do is expand the applicability of that guideline so that anyone in the upstream could utilize that as a framework, as a process to develop their own unique cyber posture. Well, the goals of the guideline, the revision of the guideline, is to, as I said, expand the applicability of the guideline to any organization within the upstream. And really, ultimately, what we're trying to do is to try to get an instrument that could be recognized across the industry that can be used to develop an organization's individual posture, their cybersecurity posture, and every organization within the upstream recognizing that another might use that same process with which to develop that guideline. And so it's an opportunity to bring some consistency to the industry with regard to cybersecurity, and having all of the organizations that would network with each other recognize the value that if one or another, each recognizing the other, uses of the guideline, then that's a starting point from something much more than zero, from which they can then specifically tie their organizations together to complete projects. We're working with regulators around the world. The International Regulator Forum has been a part of our early discussions on where we intend to go with the guideline, and they're quite encouraged to see that the industry is leaning forward and are interested. The regulators themselves are interested to see how this develops, because they themselves, understandably, don't necessarily have the technical expertise themselves to develop it themselves. And so they're really looking at industry to assist with that. And we're happy to be able to do that and have something ultimately that is of benefit to the industry, while also meeting the requirements of what the regulators in the industry around the world will be looking for. Well, I think that one of the things about AI, digitalization, and cybersecurity is they're all inextricably linked to each other. I was at a recent conference, actually a couple of weeks back. I was of the opinion that cybersecurity is something that is foundational for being able to advance the interest of digitalization and AI. However, they are reciprocal, and so in order for cybersecurity to continue to advance against the emerging threats, the digitalization aspect and the AI piece, they both need to contribute to cybersecurity. So they really work together where three legs of a stool, where if you don't have one, then the stool's no good. So I think that was an eye-opener for me, and I think we're all learning new and novel things and ways and strategies in which to work with AI and digitalization and cybersecurity. And it's still developing. It's really it's fascinating. It's interesting. It's daunting. But I think that if all the collective heads come together, which is what IADC is trying to do, particularly with the operators, and we're trying to bring the operators to the table because they really, at the top of that supply chain, they represent all the effort that comes up underneath to support those efforts in the upstream industry. So we're excited to see that the operators come on board and continue to advance this work. Everywhere I go in getting connected and participating in this effort, I say, send me an email, jimrocco@iadc.org, and we'll put you on our distribution list. Normally, we would look to see that IADC members come and contribute, but I've even opened that up to anybody else who might be interested. But we'd also encourage anybody who's interested to become an IADC member for nominal cost, and it's really of benefit. But absolutely, get a hold of me. I get emails every day. I'm putting them on our distribution list, letting that list grow, and then just trying to generally raise awareness for the concern and the need to enhance and develop our guidelines to the next level.